All right. What is up, Danny? I just realized I got to sync this back to the thing, but we should be fine. Anyways, it'll be a couple seconds delayed, but appreciate what's going on, fellas. We're already unorganized, as is the case usually on Sunday mornings, but we do have very little site questions at the moment. So if you guys do want to skip the line, you'd probably get your question answered ASAP. For the meantime, we'll probably go over a few free questions so we can get some of you guys that were in here early rewarded for being in here early. So we'll rip through some of the free questions off the top here. We got Ignacio says, "What's up, gents? What do you think about Rachaad White or Juwan Jennings full PPR?" I actually really love both of them this week, but it is problematic that Purdy isn't playing, so I would probably play Rachaad White.
That's where I'm at with it too. Juwan Jennings, I believe, ended up as my wide receiver 20 this week, and I think I have Rachaad White as like my RB 18 or 19. But like again, like when we say like he's wide receiver X, running back Y, like you shouldn't just say, oh yeah, because he's wide receiver 21 versus this guy's RB 23, like you play the wide receiver 21. No, like that's more so showing like at their position, they're kind of like similar projections for me. But with Rachaad White, in terms of the game script, in terms of the matchup, in terms of the implied total for you guys, in terms of the receiving role he has too, like, yes, sure, is Evans back? Absolutely. But there is still no Godwin in the lineup. And that's where I think the Otton and the running back receiving production really does get supplemented, because what Evans does in this offense in the context of how you guys move the ball is a lot different than all of your other weapons, all of your other playmakers on offense, right? So,
well, yeah, if you just think back to early on in the year, like when Godwin and Evans were out there, we just like every drive we scored. Like that's where we were at as an offense. So that's where I think people get a little bit in the weeds about, oh, now that Evans is back, Rachaad White's going to lose receiving production. It's like maybe, but he also will probably have more sustained drives and more opportunities for touchdowns. That's like, it's a chicken or the egg situation all the time with, is it better to have more weapons or is it better to have less weapons? It's like, generally, I think I would rather have a team with more weapons than I would with less weapons, because it's usually harder for a running back to get it done if he's running into the back of his offensive lineman every single play because there's no receivers out there.
Well, especially at wide receiver or running back. Sorry. Especially at running back. Like, obviously, you want the guy that can handle 20 to 25 touches. Like, don't get me wrong, you want volume. But at the same time, if you could tell me he can get 80 to 85% of the workload and operate in a top 5 offense versus operating in a below average to bad offense, I'm taking the top offense every time, because what we keep forgetting in the game of fantasy football that we play is that 6 points is the most consequential play in fantasy in terms of scoring a touchdown. The straight up, the one fucking thing, even if you're on the 1 yard line, you cross that 1 yard line, it's an extra 6 points to your lineup. So having a player that can score a ton of those is the most valuable thing you can have. And I know it sounds so rudimentary. It sounds so fucking simple.
Well, I mean,
like
more applicable even not in full PPR too.
Well, yeah. No, I know. But regardless of whether it's full, half, standard, it's like you want guys with high touchdown equity. Like that has always been the biggest needle moving piece in fantasy football. That's why a guy like Christian McCaffrey has been so dominant in San Francisco. That's why a guy like Derrick Henry, he wasn't getting receiving production throughout his career, but because he was scoring 18 plus rushing touchdowns, it hasn't mattered. Like, you want guys that can punch in the end zone. Again, I went on a whole rant about how scoring touchdowns is good in fantasy, because like, yeah, no shit, Sherlock, obviously it does matter, but I don't think people realize, like, okay, if I'm going to take the bad running back that's getting a ton of opportunity in a bad offense, I would rather the guy that just has the touchdown equity. It's almost like we'll go back to it, like a Rachaad White versus like Rico Dowdle debate now going forward.
Yeah.
Like, which running back would you have?
He's better than Dowdle on a number of other reasons for that. But it's more,
that's the point.
It's more like, to me, it's like more like David Montgomery versus who's in a bad offense? Alvin Kamara, I guess. Yeah. Like David Montgomery's been outproducing in the last couple of weeks because Montgomery is like literally minus 200 to score a touchdown every single game.
Yeah. And you could also put like Jahmyr Gibbs versus some of the other high end running backs. It's like, like out of all the running backs in that range, like Gibbs is getting the least overall work. But because he's averaging 6 yards per touch and he's playing for fucking Detroit, it doesn't matter. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I spent way too long ranting about that.
This is equivalent to our Jake Ferguson discussion in terms of pointlessness, talking about why touchdowns matter in fantasy football. Just a whole bunch of yap. But anyways, we do have one site question. Again, if you guys do want to skip the line, the link is in the chat there. Our weekly rankings also are up to date, both on the site and in the weekly rankings manifesto. So if you guys have access to either of those two things, you can definitely check those out there. But Maple Serple has a start sit question for us here. wide receiver position is what he's considering. It looks like we got Jameson Williams, Malik Neighbors, and Deebo Samuel as the options there. Neighbors is expected to play, so he's probably my number one there, given the matchup against the Buccaneers, who will have Jamel Dean back by the looks of it, which is a sizable upgrade to our secondary, knowing that, I mean, when McCollum, our starting corner, our number one corner, is playing at like literally an all-pro level, and defenses just refuse to throw at him. They'll throw at Tyreek Funderburk and Josh Hayes every single goddamn play. It doesn't matter who's on them. But now that Dean is out there, you're going to see that tighten up a little bit, which is nice because we won't have a complete liability as our second corner every single play.
Sorry, every time I hear Thunderburk, I'm just like, what the fuck is going on?
Funder.
Oh,
I thought craziest name in the league, probably. Okay. To be honest.
Yeah, no, that's a dope name. It catches me off guard every time I hear it. I'm like, Thunderburk. That is.
Well, here's what his nickname is in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers Twitter space: Thunderburnt, because he gets literally smoked by everybody he's ever played against. The guy's poor guy. He's literally an undrafted rookie. Like, he's out there just getting absolutely scorched by NFL players.
You want to know how dumb I am, by the way? When you said he's getting burnt out there, I'm like, yeah, just like thunder in real life, and I realized that's actually lightning that does that. So
yeah. Well, Danny left his brain cells in bed this morning. So, the second part of this question is basically, do you trust Deebo Samuel with a backup quarterback? And the answer is I do, because I think they'll use him quite a bit. What
does that mean? Like, trust? What does that mean, though? Where do you have him ranked?
Oh, I have him. Where is Deebo in my rankings? I have Deebo Samuel. Where are you, sir? He is like a top 15 receiver for me. I think they're going to use him quite a bit with a backup quarterback because he's the short area target. He's the guy that's going to get carries. He's the guy that they're going to design touches for. I think having a backup quarterback hurts him the least of all the receivers that they have.
That's high for me. Like,
it maybe, but like, I don't know. People like quickly souring on Deebo Samuel because he's had a couple bad games, and Juwan Jennings has looked great, which I get. Like, I think that's definitely fair to criticize Deebo a little bit, but I don't know. To me, he's going to have the high weekly ceiling that he always has. Even with a backup quarterback, he has big play upside. He has the ability to score touchdowns and, do things after the catch. Like, we know who Deebo Samuel is. It's been like 7 years.
He has a discernible ceiling, but until he just straight up outplays Juwan Jennings, I'm not projecting him to.
Well, let me ask you this, Danny.
That's where
Deebo
it's at.
Samuel's been in the league since 2019.
I get it.
Better, Juwan Jennings or Deebo Samuel?
I get it, dude. I'm not talking about what he did back in 3 years ago. I'm not talking about what he did back in 2019. I'm talking about what they're doing this year. And what they're doing this year, Juwan Jennings has been the better player. That's what I'm basing it off of. Anytime Juwan Jennings in the lineup, he has operated as that number one wide receiver for them, straight up. So it's like, I understand it doesn't feel like a real split, but it is right now. If Deebo goes out there,
in my opinion.
If Deebo goes out there and scorches earth, I'm perfectly fine treating him like the number one receiver on this team. But as long as Juwan Jennings is out producing him, there's no reason to call him that.
How many games have both of them played together all season?
In terms of the season? Well,
like half of the good games that
Jennings has played like 3 games as the starter.
Yeah, but wasn't there a split in there where Deebo was out?
Jennings was out too.
Yeah, but the start when Juwan Jennings was like a huge waiver ad early on.
I think they've only played like 2 games or 3 games together. Like,
right. Actually. So how are we confidently saying that Jennings is the number one if they've only played 2 or 3 games together?
Honestly, that's just a take based off the volume he's commanded in that offense when he's gotten the opportunity. That's really as simple as it is.
I don't know. We'll learn a lot this week. I'll trust 5 years of data saying that Deebo's better.
And go ahead, dude. But when Juwan Jennings is winning on the outside, making tough catches for that team, that's what I'm evaluating right now. Straight up.
Sure. Hey, it's backup quarterback hurts Juwan Jennings more than hurts Deebo is all my point is.
I think both get downgraded. For the record, it's not like I have Jennings like, oh yeah, he's 7 spots higher. I have them at 20 and 21 for the record.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I'm going to move us back into the other view here. Again, also, if you guys do want to skip the line, you know the drill. Deebo isn't a real wide receiver.
You got to go Abdullah. Sorry, I just saw that. Half PPR, you got to go Abdullah, right? I just saw that because I thought it was interesting. We'll go in chronological order.
And he's just not following the rules at all here. Trident.
I saw that, dude. Okay.
2 different leagues start sit worried about Neighbors situation. Half PPR, Neighbors, Dobbins, Marvin, Juwan, Tank, Dell. So I'm assuming you only can start one of these guys because he only listed.
He says we're worried about the Neighbors situation.
Are you sitting Neighbors for any of these players? I would play Marvin over Neighbors, to be honest.
Yeah, I have Marvin ranked higher than Neighbors. How many is he starting here? I'm so confused.
Okay, well, if it's 2, it's Marvin and Neighbors. If it's 3, it's Marvin, Neighbors, and Dobbins for me.
Yeah, in a half PPR, I'd agree.
But if it's just 1, it would be Marvin for me because I like the game environment of that Cardinals and Seahawks game. I think we're going to get a lot of points in that one. It's one of the few games, actually, if you go through the weekly rankings manifesto, we have like kind of the sharp betting trends and stuff. One of the few games that's actually catching steam on the over. Most of the games this week are catching steam on the under because there's just a bunch of blowout potential. But I do think Marvin and that Seahawks game could end up shooting out there.
I talked about that on the show too.
Standard with modifiers, Neighbors versus Reed. Where do you come down on this one? I think knowing that Reed is a bit more of a part-time player and stuff like that kind of makes me lean Neighbors as well.
Well, with Reed, it's the same thing as Debo. It's like, okay, I know you're talented. Go fucking have a good game. Straight up. Go have a good game. Like, are you gonna command another 2 targets this week? That's really cool. I like that in my lineup. Like, buddy, like Jaden Reed, like we know you're talented. We know what you can do after the catch. We know what you can do working down the field. I mean, you showed that earlier in the year, but if you're going to be a guy that is getting no volume in that offense, less than 20% of the targets on a week-to-week basis, I'm going to treat you like that. Like I said the same thing about Zay Flowers this year. Like Zay Flowers has a high ceiling, sometimes a low. I view Zay Flowers and Jaden Reed basically as being the same, but Zay Flowers now, I trust the offensive insulation. I trust that he's playing well, which is why there's a big difference for them in my rankings. I think both are the type of players on any given week can be ranked at a high-end wide receiver 3 or a low-end wide receiver 1.
Yeah, they both have a tendency to disappear sometimes, but both of them have the blow up potential like we saw. I know there's a meme going around on
Better
Twitter.
in best ball.
It's like, guess which week I bet on Zay Flowers, and it's always like the week he has like 1 catch for 4 yards or whatever it is, instead of like he has 119 yards at halftime games or whatever.
No, the funniest was like somebody was like, don't look now, but Nick Whisper-Kakine has been like on a hot run. And somebody replied, is like, yeah, guess which week I started him. And it's like, okay, buddy, are we really doing this? Like,
yeah, Nick Whisper-Kakine is wild. Anyways, Mitchell says start 2 wide receivers, Juwan Jennings, Tank Dell, Xavier Worthy, or who should I pick up on waivers? I can't imagine waiver wires are going to have better options than those guys. Yeah. I think Dell, given
Jennings
situation, is probably a lock of these 3 options, and then it's between Jennings and Worthy.
I have Jennings a lot higher.
I would probably play Jennings as well. As much as like, it's fun to get cute. I think Xavier Worthy is one of these like eternal hopium players where you're like, I could talk myself into a long touchdown this week. You know what I mean? Like you could do this every single game,
dude,
no matter
every
what
time
the environment is.
There's players every week that you're like, you know what? He's kind of fun. And it's like, okay, no, fun as in 7 fucking targets, 130 unrealized air yards, 3 drops mixed in there. Yeah, that's so much fun.
Where do you have Jennings ranked, just out of curiosity?
I'm at 20.
Okay, I don't have him that high because I had him, I think, around 19 or 20 or something.
You have Debo higher than I do.
Injury, and then I moved him down to, I think, 28 is where I have him right now. But there's a big cluster of guys in that range.
Well, you said you had Debo in your top 15, so you have Debo top 15 and him 28. I have him 20, Debo 21, so that's going to be the difference.
Yeah, I guess, like I said, the reasoning behind that is that I think Debo probably gets a lot of design work with a backup quarterback.
Good. Also, I lied to you earlier. I have Kareem Hunt actually at RB9. Sorry, I made the correction. Him and Brian Robinson are back-to-back, though, 10-11. And
I have them 10 and 11, so I must have somebody ahead of them that you don't.
Sorry, I meant 9 and 10. My bad. I have Tracy at 11.
I have James Conner at 9. That's probably the guy that you don't have.
I have Conner at 12.
Abdullah or Dowdle, hate being in this position because I don't want to watch either of these offenses.
You got to go Dowdle, but...
Yeah, I have Dowdle. I think it's 1 spot higher in my rankings, Dowdle, but I literally don't disagree with you here, Jonathan. I hate both of them so much. Like, I don't want to play either of these offenses.
I mean, if you want touch, like, see, the thing is, it's like, I think Abdullah could have more receiving work with Minshew operating there with kind of how the Raiders have been looking. Like,
and also, Broncos are a good team. They could get out to a lead, like we saw what they did to the Falcons last week.
But the problem that I have with Abdullah is we know he's not guaranteed the work. Whereas with Rico Dowdle, it's like I feel more confident projecting 12 plus touches. Whereas with Amir Abdullah, if you told me he had 7 touches, 4 targets, and he just couldn't do anything on the ground, so they brought somebody like Dylan Laube in to take carries from him, I wouldn't be shocked.
Yeah,
Pierce said that on his presser. He said if Abdullah's not getting going early, that we have guys like Dylan Laube basically to help out.
Oh God, what a gross offense. Honestly, dude, I think I actually like Abdullah better just based on how I expect these games to go. Like, I think this will be a get right spot for Washington, probably a large lead at some point, and maybe Dowdle's phased out of the game plan because they're throwing. Whereas I think Abdullah, it's a division game, and even if they are behind a little bit, the Broncos, let's say are up by 7 points most of the game or something. Abdullah is going to be the pass catching back, and he's probably more borderline game script proof for that reason. So I actually probably would lean Abdullah now that I think about it. More.
And that's fine. Like, they're really close. I think this is like RB 29 versus RB 30 for me. If I look, let me see. RB 27 versus 28 because Chubb and Warren got locked in before I could make my adjustments, sadly. So,
you only had Chubb at 28 or whatever.
He was at he got locked in. I'm not gonna lie. He probably would have. He probably would have been like 27.
Going in once I heard the weather concerns, I moved him all the way up to like 24. I thought he was like a good play.
He probably would have been 26 or 27, probably him versus like Swift and Pollard for me. That's where I would have been. Also, not fun because I actually hate this, but Deron Bland is back this week, right?
Okay.
On the flip side, Trayvon Diggs got ruled out. We still have not seen a fucking game this year with the Cowboys' top 2 cornerbacks on the field together.
Well, I mean, isn't that good that you guys are gonna be missing players?
No. I'm just saying going into the year, it's like we're talking about this fucking our 1-2 punch at corner. We haven't seen it in one single game this year, so it's like it's tough. And fun fact actually about that: so Trayvon Diggs got ruled out literally like right after I recorded my wide receiver video, and in the Terry McLaurin section, I'm like, the reason why I have him at 16 this week is that I'm a little bit concerned about the rigid use that Cliff Kingsbury has with them playing the left alignment. I'm a little bit concerned that their run game is going to get going. And maybe we see Bland and Diggs on the field together really help out the Cowboys secondary. Right as I fucking went to go edit that, Trayvon Diggs got ruled out. So I had to cut around the Terry McLaurin bit just to take out any time I mentioned Trayvon Diggs.
Yeah, I have him inside my top 8, I think, this week. I thought he's a pretty good play given the Cowboys secondary is just bad and their defense is bad in general. And the Commanders applied for like 26 points or something like that too.
I do have a little bit of hesitance though, because the way the Cowboys get killed at wide receiver is varied usage. And we just haven't really seen that from Terry McLaurin at all. Has it not been like you guys have just gotten killed by any and all wide receivers, no matter who it is? Not really for the most part. Like we're actually, I think there's a stat. The left boundary wide receiver, we're actually the second best team at limiting yardage to. Again, maybe a Fugazi split, but this is something that was brought up by Josh Norris, I believe. So I saw that on Twitter. I thought it was pretty interesting. But the main interesting part is that 37 of his, I believe, 46 snaps last week, Terry McLaurin, were at the left alignment.
Shout out to I remember D-Hop used to have this issue too in Arizona where we would be like, why the hell is DeAndre Hopkins playing only on the left side of the field? Like for the longest time, that was the issue with DeAndre Hopkins.
Do you think Cliff Kingsbury is left-handed or something? Like,
also, can we can stop now with the whole Cliff Kingsbury deserves another shot at an NFL head coaching position, right? It's past the first month of the season. Everybody thought he was literally like the offensive coordinator of the year. And now it's like, oh, okay, like Jaden Daniels might just be like a really good quarterback. And he's also like, Daniels hasn't had like a perfect season either. Like he's
been bad in the last like 6 weeks, bro.
Yeah. Like he hasn't really been that great as of late. And of course, now you're seeing that the offensive coordinator not being like a floor raiser. He blew his load the first month of the season. Everything he learned when he was like out of the NFL, he like brought for the first 4 games of the season. Now it's like, okay, everybody knows how to defend my offense again, just like they did in Arizona. So I mean, Cliff Kingsbury getting the head coaching stuff. Give me a break.
Where do you have Eckler ranked this week? That was a guy that I had on my sneaky starts, but I don't know if he's sneaky considering how good he's been.
Yeah, I had him at probably lower than you, considering what you said.
I'm at 22.
There. I am at 28. I like the guys with workloads a little better, just because I expect this game to be a B-Rob game script. That's partially why.
I think both backs are going to cook.
They're literally double-digit favorites. So I think the B-Rob, get right game is coming.
I don't disagree, but like I kind of mentioned, I'm a little bit lower on Washington's passing game this week. I think they're just going to fucking brutalize those 2 running backs between the tackles. Like we're talking about like, I have Brian Robinson as my RB10 and I have Austin Eckler as my RB22. I have 2 fucking running backs on the same team that isn't the Detroit Lions ranked in my top 24 against my own team.
I was going to say, I was like the Detroit Lions 2 running backs in my top 15.
And then Tampa Bay as well, I also have in. So I don't know why I fucking built that up so much. Like, 2 on the same team, brother.
Yeah. Would you trade Kupp and Quentin Johnston for Jennings and Chase Brown?
No.
No, I don't think so. I think I'd rather have Kupp than Chase Brown. And Johnston, Jennings, I'd rather have Jennings, but I think Kupp versus Chase Brown's a bigger discrepancy than Johnston versus Jennings, to be honest. Like, I actually really think QJ's got a great end of season schedule and could be really productive at the end of the year. Are we?
I have him on my big dog.
I also have him on my big dog. Are we at a point with Quentin Johnston where we're like, okay, like we knew this guy was raw coming into the NFL. He did take a year to develop a little bit. Is he kind of like the archetype of receiver that we should maybe not throw the whole, face planners thing on? Because
perhaps, but then I could counter you with for every Quentin Johnston, there's a Treylon Burks.
That's true. That is fair.
Right.
Burks has also been banged up most of his career. There was a period of time where people still thought Burks was good.
I did, for the record.
Yeah, you did. After his rookie year, people were still on Burks.
I said I did.
Oh, did. I did. I thought you said I didn't. I was like, you definitely did.
You think I'm just going to cap to fucking 200 plus people right now who literally have watched me talk about him?
Yeah.
Dude, Treylon Burks was my fucking guy, man. It's sad that
I'm glad
injuries, between everything, fucking, yeah. I don't know.
I'm glad I moved Wilson ahead of him like a month before the draft after the reception perception data came out. That was the one thing that I feel good about because I did have Burks ahead of Wilson the whole time.
Dude, he had genuinely good film and he had a great prospect profile. Like there wasn't much wrong with the prospect himself. And in fact, obviously it's revisionist. They traded away a top 3 to 5 wide receiver in the NFL and they got back Treylon Burks. But if Treylon Burks was the Treylon Burks he was as a prospect and he ended up being a top 10, top 12 wide receiver in the NFL and you got cost control for the 4 years, I don't think it's as bad of a deal in terms of the process than everybody's fucking... Obviously, in hindsight,
I think it was a bad deal. I would have paid AJ Brown.
I would have paid AJ, but let's just say you realize as a franchise, you know what? We're going to be tearing it down after the year. Derrick Henry's gone. We're drafting a new court. You know what I mean? Like if you realize, hey, I need to get money off my books and you wanted to cash in for a first round pick, I don't hate the process of that. But because Treylon Burks was a gigantic bust and because AJ Brown has been so fucking good in Philly, it looks way worse than the process would have dictated.
Yeah, well, it's the same process the Vikings took when they traded Diggs and got Jefferson.
Right?
With that pick. And even if let's say Jefferson wasn't on the board and they took Ayuk instead, it still probably would have been a good move.
Yeah, 100%. So like, I can't fault them too much. Like people are saying, "Oh yeah, it's the worst trade of the decade." It's like, buddy, come on.
Like Deshaun Watson trade still exists. So
yeah, I have a good point. Not many people are actually saying it's the worst in the decade, but
one of the worst receiver trades we've seen in a little bit. Debo or D Hop, also Texans or Broncos. So I would be playing Debo over DeAndre Hopkins, and then Texans or Broncos. So you got the Texans defense against Will Levis, Broncos defense against Gardner Minshew. Are the Broncos? Which I guess
I just go with the Broncos defense. They're just really good.
Yeah,
so are the Texans though.
Yeah, Texans are actually my number one defense, and the Broncos are on the road. So I'd probably use that as a tiebreaker. The Texans are at home against Will Levis. So
good call.
Yo, what's going on, Christian? Pick 2, Evans, Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr. That's a tough conversation for me. I have Harrison and Neighbors slightly ahead of Evans, but I still really like Evans this week. Where do you have? I feel like we have a lot of Mike Evans questions. Where do you have Mike Evans ranked?
Mike Evans. So I moved him to 18 right now, simply because I still think there's a risk he could be limited with snaps. But I'm more confident that it's not going to be a Nico Collins situation. Last week, we were actually talking about this off the record, so we'll just explain this to everybody watching right now. When I recorded the wide receiver rankings video, I thought there was a possible scenario we could have seen what happened to Nico Collins last week, because it was a similar injury. It was a similar timeline. He comes back on Monday Night Football, plays 47% of the snaps. However, even on those 47% of the snaps, 7 targets, 77-yard touchdown call back. So he looks like himself, but he just doesn't get his full snap share. We've heard more positive reports from the Tampa Bay camp. Initially, the report sounded like, yeah, he's only going to be on a pitch count and he's only going to play consequential snaps. The report this morning sounded a lot more positive on that standpoint. So again, you are the Tampa Bay guy. Like, what is actually going on from the media perspective here?
The media perspective seems to think that Evans will be totally fine, because here's the reality of the situation. Todd Bowles is actually under a little bit of scrutiny right now in Tampa Bay land, and there's absolutely zero chance he's going to limit his best receiver in games that you drop this game. Like, I personally would not fire Todd Bowles. I think Todd Bowles is a good coach, and more importantly, I think people forget this part. It's the culture and the development of players that I have not seen in Tampa Bay for 10 years prior to Bruce Arians and Todd Bowles getting there, where we would draft a second round corner who had raw talent and he would never develop. We would draft a third round edge rusher who had raw talent and he would never develop. That's what I would miss about Todd Bowles. And I know Todd Bowles and the rest of his staff, the D-line coaches, the defensive backs coaches, they're developing players. A guy like Zion McCollum, big, tall corner with physical tools, never would have developed under a Tampa Bay coaching staff in 2014.
So you said Tampa Bay confirmed it's not going to be a limited snaps. Should I just full-fledged rank Mike where I would have ranked him then?
I have him downgraded to about 80% of where I would rank him before.
Okay.
I probably would have Mike Evans, let's say 7-ish before. I have
That's where I was thinking of putting him 7 or 8
right now. So he is a little bit downgraded to where I would have him, but given that Todd Bowles is under real scrutiny, and if he drops a game to Tommy DeVito and the New York Giants, I wouldn't put it past the Glazers to maybe consider firing him. I think he's going to have Evans out there, to be honest.
The Glazers.
Yeah, the Glazers, literally.
All jokes aside, though, one adjustment I did make, so I had him at 16, actually. He was one spot ahead of Neighbors, but both are coming in banged up. We know that Mike Evans now is going to play a bigger snap share, and we trust the offense.
And Dean is back, like I said, too. So it's not just they're going to put Neighbors on Funderburk or Hayes and get him the ball every single play. If he's on McCollum's good enough to play with Malik Neighbors. People probably don't realize how good Zion McCollum's season has been. He's literally played like a first-team All-Pro corner this year, even though our secondary has been terrible. It's just he never gets thrown at. And then Dean is a good enough corner, and he's fast and physical enough to actually keep up with Malik Neighbors. So it is possible that Neighbors just doesn't have this monster game. I know on the surface, you check your fantasy app right now, it says that Malik Neighbors matchup, elite matchup right now. But I'm telling you right now, it's a little bit more nuanced than that because Dean is back.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. Hopefully for my sake, dude, I'll tell you right now, the way I upset Zach this week in the Flock League, for the record, for those of you that are unfamiliar but have maybe followed the league in the past, I do play Zach this week. I am projected, I believe, a 25% win equity because I have some bye weeks. I'm projected 28% win equity right now with Brees and Brown on bye. I'm going to need your Tampa Bay defense to go nuclear. We're talking 15 plus points. And I don't know what it is, but it feels like either Tommy's going to shred or you guys are going to annihilate him.
There's no way what's going to happen. Precisely what's going to happen. We're either going to have a pick 6 and 6 sacks, or we're going to have we're going to lose 28-17.
Yeah. That's where
there's no in between. There's literally no in between. So my thought process is the team hasn't quit on Todd Bowles. The defense wants to play for Todd Bowles. They're going to smoke Tommy DeVito. That's my thought process. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm being a homer right now, and I'll look really disappointed tomorrow morning. But I'm telling you, I think we're going to beat the shit out of the Giants.
For the record, I'd be the first to tell you that you're a homer, and I actually really agree. Not to mention, the other factor is, dude, the Giants
the pieces we're getting back are very crucial pieces. That's the thing that I'm factoring in.
Well, that, and dude, the Giants just cut their starting quarterback because of financial reasons, are currently projected to pick in the top 5, and didn't promote Drew Lock to the starting quarterback, promoted Tommy DeVito, even despite signing Drew Lock to $5 million this offseason. If that doesn't say I'm tanking without tanking out loud,
there's going to be some business decisions out there when Rachaad White and Bucky Irving are running into the second level. I don't think the DBs are trying too hard to bring them down. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No,
I think you think the offensive guard that's up for his contract is going to be too worried about blocking Vita Vea this week. I don't know.
He is, because I actually
this could get ugly, man. I think it could get really ugly for the Giants.
Hey, the only person that could go off for the Giants is Tyrone Tracy, and we're talking 20 touches, 8 catches. Maybe he's their lone touchdown, but they missed the extra point. That's what we're talking about this week.
Yeah. If I had to give a score prediction for this Bucs-Giants game, I would say 28-9, either 3 field goals or a touchdown and a 2-point conversion or something like that.
Touchdown and a safety to get to 9.
Yeah, touchdown and a safety. No, a touchdown with a missed extra point and a field goal. That's what it's going to be.
I'd be cool with that.
But I
think
a
19-yard field goal too. Let Tyrone Tracy gets yards all the way down the field.
Herbert or Mayfield 4-point per passing touchdown. I'd go Justin Herbert there, Sarah. May or CJ Stroud.
Go back to the question, sorry.
Herbert or Mayfield.
Oh, Herbert. Yeah, okay, dope.
May or CJ Stroud. I have May. Stroud a little bit higher, but I have May pretty close.
I have May higher.
Yeah, I have Stroud at 13. The Titans defense, since they've been without L'Jarius Sneed, have been quite bad. So I think Stroud and Collins and Dell are going to have a pretty nice day. And the Titans are a lot better against the run too. So it's not like the game we saw of the Texans last time, obviously, was Joe Mixon ending my season because they were way worse against the Cowboys are better against the pass than they are against the run. So Mixon just fucking absolutely shredded it down their throat. But I think CJ Stroud's going to be forced to throw in this game. So I like Stroud this week as the top. I have him at 13.
I have May at my quarterback 8 this week.
Dude, the Dolphins are a top 3 defense against the pass.
They are, but Drake May currently, dude, is throwing the ball over 35 times per game and rushing for over 40 rushing yards per game. It's more so just Drake May is that guy than it is a great matchup for me.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's fine. I personally think the way that the Patriots move the ball is via Ramondre Stevenson, not with Drake May, because like the best receiver they have is in the slot where Jalen Ramsey plays. Like it's not a good matchup for the
Hunter Henry season, bro.
That might be your only saving grace there.
Dude, also Kendrick Bourne randomly popping off last week.
You're gonna need a bullshit Kendrick Bourne or Kayshon Boutte fucking long touchdown or something for that one to bail out, and I just don't see that as likely.
Why is Kendrick Bourne relevant again? By the way,
I don't know. I have to start him in the Tone Setter Truthers League. You know that because I have Garrett Wilson on bye, so I trade for Devontae Smith, and then Devontae Smith gets ruled out, so I have to start Kendrick Bourne this week.
Yeah, that is not fun, I will say.
Kittle or Hawk, do you have one of these two higher than the other?
Kittle.
I still have Kittle higher, even despite the backup quarterback.
You got to go with big kits.
Big kits, indeed. Big kits. Is it time to drop Waddle? I'm pretty deep at wide receiver. If Waddle doesn't perform this week, then it's time to drop Waddle. But I think this could be the game that he has a little bit of a bounce back.
Let's hope not.
And the answer is for who, too? Like, if you're going to drop Waddle for Nick Westbrook-Akine, like, you might as well hold Jalen Waddle, to be honest.
You're not going to want to know who I have ranked higher this week.
You have Nick Westbrook-Akine ranked higher? That's copium, dude. Where are you?
Why is it copium?
Are you starting him in?
1.
There's no way you actually believe that he's a better player.
He's got touchdown equity. What does Waddle have?
Someone please call Danny fucking mentally ill in the chat for having Nick Westbrook-Akine ahead of Jalen Waddle. I'm not saying Jalen Waddle's been great, but the projection suggests that Waddle's still a better play.
Hey, dude, we could talk about his theoretical all we want. All I know is Nick Westbrook-Akine is putting fantasy points on the fucking board, and Jalen Waddle isn't.
Yeah, but I already know you have about like 38 or some bullshit ranking because you're starting him in the flock league.
A little bit higher, 37.
Oh my god, you're psychotic, dude. You're psychotic.
I explained why in the fucking sneaky.
Let me guess, you have Ridley at like 35 too. Like they're like close in rank.
Ridley's at 19.
Okay, never mind. To me, that's utter copium.
Honestly, what it comes down for me is Houston is a pass funnel. They are missing Tajay Spears, and Tony Pollard's been banged up this last few weeks. And Will Levis has quietly not looked all that bad in the last couple of weeks.
No, he hasn't. But that's so like why Nick Westbrook-Akine is a good, like, if you're desperate start, not why he's a top 40 receiver.
He's been that every week in the last month. Shout out the touchdown equity, baby.
Scored 5 touchdowns.
Dude, I hope he scores another 98-yarder. That would be fucking confident.
I was losing my mind. Anyways,
I won because of that in the fucking listener league.
I know. Obtainable. Meanwhile, I'm like going into a matchup up 36 points and losing, and you're getting 98-yard touchdowns with Nick Westbrook-Akine. Obtainable has a question here on the site. Is it crazy to think Hunt / Tracy over JT this week? Hunt, no. I have Hunt ranked over Tracy and JT pretty comfortably, actually. Yeah. So Hunt for sure. I'm cool going with there.
I would go Tracy over Taylor.
In your flex, I would go JSN over both of them. So JSN would be one of those guys. And then it would be JT versus Tracy for me. I still have Taylor higher because I I think that the game is going to get completely out of hand with the Giants and Bucs.
And they couldn't with Detroit against Indy?
The Sharps are hammering the Colts right now against the spread. They're hammering the Colts.
I don't know, man.
I think there's pros and cons to each play. In a full PPR league, you could definitely make the argument that Tracy's going to catch a bunch of passes in a down game script. I think Jonathan Taylor's just objectively got a better workload. So it's a conversation to be had.
Does he have a better workload?
Yes. Absolutely. He's like an 80% snap share the last 4 games.
But what I'm trying to imply, though, is coming out of the bye week, rookie scale going forward, like I can see Tyrone Tracy becoming a 20-plus touch per game back out of the bye week. Because we usually say, I feel like on the wide receiver sneaky starts video, I said this probably like a billion times. But every single time after the bye, Like the scale production for rookies is the most consistent thing we see on a year in year out basis.
Yeah, but they also came out and said that like he makes mistakes and like, you got to let him learn through it and stuff. And like people thought
that's a positive.
Yeah, but people took that to mean that like Singletary might get more touches. Like, because if you look at
that's not how I took
Singletary's got like a little stock up beside him because of the comments that they made about Singletary.
Well, then they don't know how to read into context. I think Dayball's saying that because he's like, yeah, I got a young running back. I'm going to let him play through his mistakes.
Yeah, that's how I could capitulate to Tracy. I prefer Jonathan Taylor slightly, but I could capitulate to Tracy.
For the record, like this is literally like RB 11 and 13 for me this week. So
okay, I have both of them lower than that. So
you do?
Yeah, Taylor's got a brutal matchup, so I have him at 15, and I have Tracy at 18.
Oh, 18's insane for Tracy.
We
got to make a Tracy bet. Who do you have at 17?
So Najee locked into my lineup at 17.
There's no way you had Najee ranked above Tracy.
I didn't before the week, but I can't move Najee now because he locked in there.
Who's at 16?
16, I have Ramondre Stevenson. He's a great
matchup.
All right,
bet it right now. Stevenson versus Tracy, done.
Stevenson versus Tracy.
PPR or full or PPR or half?
Full.
What's the context of this? This is PPR. Okay, yeah, we'll do PPR. I love Tracy this week.
Dude, again, you're gassing up players you have bags of.
That's not only why though, dude. He's becoming a full fucking bell cow running back out of the bye.
Yes, but Taylor's been that.
I get it. I get it, but he's also playing against the Detroit fucking Lions.
Yeah.
Why did my camera just turn off for a half a second and then turn back on?
You had to. They're a fan of Tracy. That's why they're trying to tell you you're being psycho. Brooks or Benson this week?
Brooks or Benson?
Yeah,
Benson all day.
So the report that came out like a couple minutes ago was that Brooks is going to play like third downs, which is kind of interesting to me in a matchup where they're going to be down like 11. They're 11-point underdogs, but I would probably play Benson. That last week we saw a 12-10 split carry wise between him and Connor, and I mean at this point in the year, like you already know by like I guess it's an afternoon game, but like by 5:50 p.m. it's going to be James Conner's in the medical tent. Like every late slate in week 11 onward, James Conner's in the medical tent midway through the second quarter.
What was I just saying about post-bye rookie bump and who just had their bye week? Actually, both these guys just had their bye week, I guess. But
yeah,
like we haven't seen Brooks on the
post. You got to play for a post-bye rookie bump.
I get that, but yeah, sorry. I thought you were talking about Benson for a second. Yeah, I agree. With Benson,
got a 1 and a 2 in one of the Dynasty leagues that I'm in for Joe Mixon.
What the fuck? It's Anteater League.
Yeah, a little bit, but I think, the production is maybe worth it. The guy's kind of like a fringe playoff team, though, so that's a fucking absolute steal.
That's what I'm saying. So Bush, with Benson, I actually talked about this also on the Sneaky Starts video, but with Trey Benson in the 2 games prior to the bye week, now somebody said like, oh, wasn't this in garbage time? Like, I'm not looking at when this production happened. I'm looking at more so a rookie running back showing the level of efficiency that he has in the last 2 weeks before the bye, and then getting the bye to even more acclimate to the offense. On top of that, Trey Benson, like the biggest con of his prospect profile was how ready would he be for NFL speed in terms of mentally. Like we talked about that even at Florida State. Sometimes he was like overthinking it a little bit. That was his biggest con. Now he's had his bye week and a bunch of fucking games going into it. I think there's a real possibility. Again, am I going to go out there and say he's going to usurp James Conner? No. But could it be like a 70-30 type of split where Trey Benson's getting some more receiving usage because we've actually seen him handle those in recent weeks? Like Trey Benson in the 2 games before the bye, 21 touches for 142 yards from scrimmage. Like I don't think the Cardinals are just going to view that over the bye week and think, yeah, let's get this guy less involved. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm distracted because in the Bitcoin league, I just got a trade offer. I put on this morning, I was like, guys, Calvin Ridley has the best wide receiver strength to schedule the rest of the year. Somebody come get him because he's literally the only player on my roster above the age of 24 and nobody wants him for some reason. So I go, come get him. And I got an offer of Quentin Johnston and Jalen McMillan for him. And I'm kind of debating doing it.
Quentin Johnson for Jalen McMillan. That is
Jalen McMillan and Quentin Johnston for Calvin Ridley.
That's probably fair.
I think it is too. Give or take. I mean, what is Ridley worth? An early second rounder right now for a contender?
Yeah.
I think you can make the argument Quentin Johnston's worth about an early to mid second by himself. And I really like McMillan. I think he's going to be a better player going forward than he's been.
Well, it's like a 2 and a 3 basically is how you sum it up, or late 2 and like a mid 3, I would say.
I think QJ is worth a mid too, man. It's not just that he's scoring touchdowns in fantasy production. Dude, guy's over 2 yards per route run this season. Like he's actually having a good year.
No, I don't disagree. Wait, who's out in
Quentin Johnston, notable best ball smash pick this year, as we often were saying throughout the summer. Just kidding. I thought he was a waste of a pick.
Yeah. Christian, I do get that, but what I'm trying to imply though is whether it's a blowout or not, when a rookie player shows that level of efficiency and then also has a bye week, I just don't think the team's going to look at it and be like, yeah, let's get this guy involved less. That's where I'm at with it. Again, it's
not to
risky.
mention Brooks is making his season debut off of a major injury, and he's playing the best run defense in the NFL.
That's a part too. It's like, even if they're both, if he plays, you're playing the guy against Seattle over the guy playing against the Chiefs every fucking time.
Yeah. Not to mention Chuba is less of a shaky starter than Connor is for like an injury. Like when it comes to like handcuffs, playing a guy who mid-game is likely to get more touches because the starter ahead of him goes in the medical tent all the time, like Aaron Jones and James Conner come to mind as two guys that are always in the medical tent.
Connor has not finished a full NFL season in his career. And age 29, he's just all of a sudden going to. Like, I get it may be hopium because I do have Benson in a good amount of spots. I understand that. But at the same time, I'm refusing to say, okay, the age 29 years, the time he figures it out how to stay healthy. I can't accept that.
Yeah,
like it's gonna happen.
Like 2 of the last 3 games, he's missed half the game with like dealing with an injury. Like,
sorry, this just made me laugh. I'm like, holy fuck, that'd be a little extreme.
Jeez, no, we don't want Connor to break his leg. No. Just like a nice hamstring pull that he'll recover from just fine.
Maybe he gets jury duty, kicking out of it for the next month of the year.
Yeah. Anyways, let's rip through some questions here. Matt says, pick
one
3
thing
PPR. Quick. What's up?
Sorry. Have you seen how disgusting my lineup is in no flocking? And now I'm 8-3 and projected 165 this week somehow.
I have not.
I'm starting Lockett, Disley, and Zach Ertz in my lineup this week.
Ooh.
I'm 8-3.
Yeah. My team's gonna be a fucking monster once I add a player next year, man. Holy crap!
I'm more than cool making you a monster if I can win a second year in a row and not have to worry about it for the rest of fucking your tenure.
I think it would have been a major throw to go all in this year. I'm so glad I didn't.
You would have beat me. Look at my team.
Okay, yeah, but like I thought there was other better teams in the league.
I mean, like there's DTB Brownie who's 10-1 and Skull. I have the second most points in the league with that team.
Yeah. A little strange.
And I had no McCaffrey for like the majority of the year. Oh, I had Mason. Okay, that's why. Right.
Matt says pick 3 PPR, Mike Evans, Terry, Tyreek, Malik. Jesus, dude. These are all top 15 receivers for me this week. I guess the answer is that you sit Evans because he is coming in with an injury.
I would play him over Malik straight up. Malik's also coming in with an injury.
Yeah, they're both coming in with an injury. I have Evans still behind Malik.
I have both ranked above Terry, but because they're both entering the game hurt, I think to mitigate your risk, you start Terry and then bench one of them because of the injury.
Oh, I have Terry way over. I have Terry one of this group.
No, I know, but I'm saying like if I had to make the decision, Terry would be the guy that I would sit personally. But because there's the context that Evans and Malik are banged up, I don't think you can start both banged up players.
That's nuts that you would sit Terry in this group.
I would.
He's one of this group for me. I have him first.
Disagree. No. Over Tyreek? No.
Yeah, I have him over Tyreek.
That's insane. I mean,
Tyreek's getting shadow covered.
Yeah, sure. Come on. It's Mike McDaniel.
I guess. I don't know. Terry's here. You got the Cowboys defense with a 10.5 point cushion for Vegas, man. I think
I'm telling you right now, the Washington passing offense is a trap this week. They are going to run the ball completely over us this week.
Yeah, probably.
They might pass for 210 yards, to be honest.
Yeah, that's fair. I like the projection for Terry better. But
for the record, it's all close. It's not like I'm like saying it's like.
So I guess you're sitting Malik here and I'm sitting Evans. Is that what the final decision is? Okay, yeah,
we'll do that.
That's the direction we would go. Michael says play Disley or Kittle. I mean, you're still playing George Kittle there. You probably can't trust Brandon Allen, but it's not enough that you would play Disley over him.
Yeah, and again, that's actually not even a discredit to Disley. That's more so like Kittle is just a guy that no matter who's his quarterback, I could be throwing him the football and you don't sit him straight up.
Yeah, exactly.
I've seen this guy have spike weeks in the past with like fucking Not even
Nick
just Jimmy
Mullins.
Garoppolo, but Nick Mullins at quarterback. Like how many Niners random mid quarterbacks have started games since like 2015?
Well, are we counting Brock Purdy or no? Brock Purdy's good. You guys know I love Brock Purdy.
Remember when Jimmy Garoppolo had a high for a while?
Yeah. Benson or Westbrook-Ikhine.
Yeah. Also, we got to give you some flack on that. That is ridiculous. That is the one thing I'll say. That is ridiculous.
I think they're both really good plays this week. One of them is seeing shadow coverage from a really good corner who can match him speed-wise. That's the difference for me.
I mean, there's a difference between 4.3, 4.4 speed and 4.2 speed, though.
Yeah, but when you're also big, like Gonzalez is big, like it factors in.
Maybe he's been stymied Jalen Waddle, which is why the guy's been yearned in fantasy. No, I'm joking.
I don't know. I'm not. I love Tyreek this week. I think he's a great play. Yeah. I think Terry's a better play.
They're projected for almost 27 points. And honestly, like if there's one offensive schemer that I trust to get out of shadow situations, on top of that, too, like we've seen it in the past this year that Christian Gonzalez has not shadowed across a full game. Like against the Rams, bro, he guarded DeMarcus Robinson all game.
Yeah, I mean, I love how you just used the point projection as rationale for Tyreek. Like the Commanders aren't projected for more.
No. I'm pointing that out. I'm saying like you were talking about the Commanders' offensive projection. It's like, well, they're projected by like 0.5 more than the Dolphins this week.
Yeah,
and Tua has been playing unbelievable, bro.
Yeah, he's been playing good.
I don't know. It's just like if I'm gonna try, like if you were to make like a top 3 to 5 of offensive schemers that you trust against shadow situations, Mike McDaniel, Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay. Yeah. Those are like the 3 that like come to mind for me.
Cliff Kingsbury. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, left the line, bro. You know exactly
where he's coming from. Danny, but the reality is your team is just that bad that I'm starting players against them.
All right.
But Benson or Westbrook-Ikhine rest of the season. Give me the upside of Benson. Yeah, give me the upside of Benson. Also, loves to die on lonely hills. Like I'm not talking about my wide receiver 6 and wide receiver 8 this week. Like they're both like elite plays. Like what are we doing here?
Also, it's funny that you're the one dying on lonely hills. Like I'm the one that's single and you're the one that's literally fucking engaged. Maybe I'm the lonely one.
maybe. Benny says full PPR, need a wide receiver and a flex. There's no way I sit Josh Downs. So Josh Downs and Rachaad White would be my 2 answers for this.
Yeah, that works for me. That's full PPR. Yep.
I think so. I have Jonathan Brooks, I believe, running back 38 this week. So if you're starting Brooks, you're probably down pretty bad. Like I would rather start, like if we're talking guys who aren't even starters, I'd rather start Benson. I'd rather start Estime. I would rather start Cam Akers. I would rather start. There was one other guy that had Charbonnet as well, because I think if we're talking guys who are kind of like handcuffs and the upside that the starter goes down, or like they might just get 10 to 15 efficient touches, I think Brooks is a little behind those guys personally. Yeah,
no, that's fair.
JT or Evans in the flex, I'd start Mike Evans over Jonathan Taylor there, Joe. Harry says, what's up, guys? Waddle or Abdullah for my flex full PPR? I know he's hurt you a million times, but I would still start Jalen Waddle there.
Probably, but
it's gross.
Great about it.
This is where we're at with Jalen Waddle. So, I think this is the week that you get a good Jalen Waddle game. Personally,
I have Brooks a tiny bit higher than you, but like I feel like the point remains. Like I'm at 32, but like realistically, once you get to the high implied handcuff backups, like him, I mean Jalen Warren actually hit. He was at 30 for me, but I think like Jalen Warren was kind of like the cream.
I had him at 30 as well too, so he was above those guys.
Like Roschon, Gus Edwards.
Yeah, I have Roschon ahead of Brooks as well. That's the other guy I was forgetting.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Thoughts on McMillan? So it's funny you bring up McMillan here because I don't know if you guys recall a couple of weeks back, I made like a bullshit parlay of like bad receivers to go over 50 receiving yards, and I'm gonna do it again because I have $5 left in my account. And I'm going to put McMillan in it guaranteed because I think McMillan could have a good game today.
This might be the most disgusting question you've ever heard, but this is in the Mickey Mouse League. So for the record in this league, right? I lost Daniel Jones because he is not on an NFL team, which again, I think he's going to get signed somewhere. He's probably going to like bridge the end of the year for some team. Or is he going to sign to a playoff contender and be a back? I don't know what he's going to do.
I think he's going to end up being a backup for the rest of the year if I had to guess.
Which is unfortunate because I have him. I have Brock Purdy who's hurt, and I have Dak Prescott who's hurt on this Mickey Mouse League team. So I'm starting Brandon Allen in my quarterback spot, and my next best quarterback available for me this week is Cooper Rush. So again, it probably shouldn't matter because I still have like Achane, Taylor, Lamb, Evans, Laporta, Kyron, Barkley, Dobbins, and Neighbors in my lineup. But at the same time, it's frustrating because I'm trying to win a championship with this team, and I might be left next week with like a Cooper Rush, Brandon Allen, best 2 available if Purdy's out again.
Not great.
Yeah, not fun.
But yeah, if you guys have a bad receiver, who you think is going to go over 50 yards today, drop it in the chat. Like I'm talking, they got to be the number 2 or 3 on their team. Like, no, I think Tyreek's
Nick Westbrook-Ikine.
Yeah, like Nick Westbrook-Ikine is a good show. Like
Throw
somebody
him on.
like that.
Throw him on.
I mean, Jalen Coker's out today, but like somebody like that is who I was thinking of. Maybe Adam Thielen or something like that too.
Because of the meme, you may as well throw NWI on because he actually has a
I'm
really
not
good
putting
matchup.
NWI in because he's not going to have over 50 yards.
I disagree.
He's going to have 3 catches for 26 yards and a touchdown. That's exactly what
you know what? I would fucking take that. Hey, hear me out. If he had 3 for 26 and a tug, you would rank him at wide receiver 37, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would. Also, here's one of the dog shit receivers that's going into the parlay. A guy by the name of Jalen Waddle on the Miami Dolphins.
What's his yardage prop at? Like 40 right
50
now?
plus is a plus 160 for him.
Might be. I don't even like those odds.
Yeah, I actually don't either. Now that I think about it. Like
Honestly,
Jonnu Smith is plus 195, and I think I might even prefer him
by far, dude. If you're gonna make a Waddle bet, you may as well make it 100 plus because
also for what it's worth, it could be a tight end that you guys drop in the chat as well. It doesn't have to be a receiver. Tight ends sometimes there's some value on the 50 plussers.
Hey, dude, fucking if you're gonna bet Waddle's line, you may as well go the 100 plus because if he goes over 50, he's going over 100. Like
no,
that's how
not necessarily. He had like a
so?
35-yard catch against the Rams on Monday Night Football like 2 weeks ago.
You think he's just going to drop like a 3 for 65 game?
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what Jalen Waddle's going to do.
That's a good point. Maybe he does. Also, I just wanted to give a little shout out here. Where was it? I appreciate it. I don't know what this is in reference to, but appreciate that.
Danny looks fresh as fuck. No lie. That's a glaze if I've ever heard one.
I'll take it.
Nick just became a member here, so I'll skip to his question.
Yeah, shout out,
I
Nick.
appreciate you, Nick. Start 3 wide receivers. Would you trade? Sorry, are you trading the receivers or are you starting them? Would you trade Jaden Reed for Sutton and Odunze? Other wide receivers are
hear me out, dude.
Nico and Ridley.
If you need depth after those guys,
I would not do this. I think Reed is way better than these guys.
That's more pro Sutton than it is anything. Have you seen how good Sutton's been?
He's been great. Yeah, he's been great. I think Reed is still a better projection, though.
Again, I would lean that side, but I'm saying if you did need depth, I don't think this is a terrible deal because you're going to disagree with me. I get it. Roma Dunes is the wide receiver 1 for the time being in Chicago.
Oh, shut up, dude. Shut
Why?
up.
Why?
No, he's not.
Why?
Because DJ Moore's out-targeted him.
Since?
All year?
Okay, what about since the bye? When we usually see rookies actually scale up.
Oh, God.
Like I said.
Until he outproduces him for a solid month, I'm not saying he's the number 1 on that team.
I don't know, man. You can follow recent trends, or you can go off of what we were.
That is following recent trends. The whole
recent
year
trends is Roma Dunze. Right, I'm looking past the bye week.
I don't know. What is that? 2 games?
Like 4 or 5, I believe, at this point.
I don't know.
Week 7 bye. So yeah, this is week 12. It's been weeks 8 to 11, so 4 games.
Okay, well, I hope you have Odunze ranked over DJ Moore this week.
I do.
You're psycho.
No, I'm not. I mean, they're 28 and 29, so maybe that's a fucking.
Someone saying DeAndre Carter. That's a little too deep. DeAndre Carter, a little deep. A couple people saying
I
Odunze
like that
actually for this.
Dude, talk to him, Dylan. Talk to him. Yeah, dude, Devon Vele is a decent show.
Yeah, Devon Vele is a fun one, actually. That is pretty decent. Let me see what his odds are.
Yeah. Shout out Boses with the Bo Nix freaking PFP2. Boses.
Devon Vele is only plus 190. Like, no way I would put. That's way too fucking low of odds for Devon Vele to go over 50 yards.
Devon Vele.
Like, I need minimum plus 350 for Devon Vele. Are you kidding me?
Hear me out. I actually picked up Vele in the Flock League before the week, but I had to drop him because I picked up the Eagles defense. But like, if you actually look at him, he's actually quietly been good when he's gotten snaps.
Okay, so that Danny picked him up in the Flock League, which means he's like ranked wide receiver 36 in his rankings.
No. I dropped him for the record, and I only have him this week. Devon Vele. He's at wide receiver 51 for me this week. So like, I don't hate him.
Oh, hear me out. I might just do this instead. So I don't know. I've never messed around with this, but most receiving yards in the game. Have you ever seen those?
I haven't seen that.
So you can bet, like, for example, the most receiving yards in the Broncos and Raiders game, like the favorites are Bowers and Sutton and those type of guys, but you could just like pick a random dude to have the most receiving yards in a game, and I'm picking Troy Franklin to do it. He's plus 3,500 odds to have the most receiving yards. He catches 160-yard touchdown, and he's probably there.
What's Devon Vele at?
He's third in odds at plus 1,100.
Looks like they know ball. He's the boy. Wait, he's over Jacoby Myers?
No, sorry, he's fourth in that.
Okay,
I didn't see Myers' name.
I was gonna have an aneurysm. I'm like, there's no way, right? Oh man.
Yeah, no, I'm just gonna throw this 5-piece on Troy Franklin to have the most yards in that game.
Fair enough.
Mainly Copium because I need him for my big dog team.
Yo, let's go. I got Tyrod Taylor in the fucking Devy League. Woo!
Sick, dude.
What about when he's the starter rest of the season when A-Rod takes a vacation?
God, what a fucking... How wrong were we on that? Good Lord.
Oh, God.
I don't know if I've been more wrong than saying, like, all Aaron Rodgers has to be is, like, 80% of prior Aaron Rodgers to Breece Hall to be, like, the RB1 in fantasy by far.
To be fair, though, bro, the usage has been, like, inconsistent. But when you look at Wilson and Breece Hall themselves... They're like both top 6 in scoring at their position. Have you looked at that?
They have been, but like I think you could definitely make the argument that both of them have also not played to the level of their ability.
I don't disagree for the record.
I think it's kind of like the factor of the final year in Tampa when everyone was scared to fuck up. You know the comment that Baker made where he was like, people are actually having fun in our locker room or whatever. And then Brady was like, well, I thought winning Super Bowls was fun. I think that attitude is like what Aaron Rodgers has where no one's having fun right now, where they're all scared to fuck up because they're going to get blasted
like the
on
Odell meme
or something.
It's like the Odell meme, you know?
Yeah. It's like, I think Rodgers' vibe is just so bad that everyone's like, I don't even want to play for this team. And it's like causing them to play like tight. Like the way Wilson has played this year, just uncharacteristically making a bunch of mistakes. Like, I don't think it's a coincidence that it's because Rodgers is starting at quarterback.
No, I mean, he's got the aura, man. You get nervous. You're like, ah, fuck, I don't want to.
What the fuck are the Jets going to do at quarterback next year? There's like 6 teams that need QBs picking in the top 15, and there's like maximum 2 quarterbacks worthy of going that high.
Yeah, Sanders and Ward.
And even then, you can argue they're probably...
Milroe's going back to school.
He better go back to school. He's not ready to come out.
Bro, he looked awful yesterday.
He's got to go back to school. Like...
They lost 24-3 against Oklahoma. 5-5 Oklahoma, bro.
Dude, is Quinn gonna go in like the top 8 because people need quarterbacks?
God.
He could go back to school too, also, which is also not out of the
thing is, if you take Quinn in the top 8, you'll still need a quarterback.
Who's gonna start for these teams, man? Like, is Justin Fields about to get a starting job for somebody?
Yeah.
Like who else is like a fringe? Like, is Daniel Jones and Sam Darnold going to be a starting quarterback for people?
Sam Darnold, absolutely. Daniel Jones, probably.
Like, who pays Sam Darnold? The Jets?
The Giants.
It would be so funny if he was a Jet.
The Giants too, though, bro.
Whoever pays, let me just put this take out there. Whoever pays Sam Darnold is going to look stupid. Whoever it is. He is not going to be good. Whoever he goes to, he's going to be bad. Don't care who it is.
He might be good. Who knows?
He's going to be bad. Sam Darnold is not a good quarterback. I don't care how good he's played for the Minnesota Vikings. He's not good.
He's a pretty solid quarterback.
We're taking Carson Beck, Ethan says. Dude, Carson Beck ain't coming out either.
By the way, Bush, have you seen my starters in Flock Me Silly this week? I'm starting Bo Melton.
Oh, God. You going to beat me again?
Yeah, how did I beat you, bro?
Jonnu Smith and fucking... Or no, who was it? It was Jonnu Smith, Jameis Winston.
Jonnu Smith, Taysom Hill, bro.
Can't believe you beat me with that. That's so bullshit.
Dude, my team, to be fair too, since that happened, I also made the deal with Dak, so my team's even like worse off this year. But bro, I have 4 first rounders, 4 second rounders, and like literally I have Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott.
Yeah, that's kind of wild.
Well, dude, I'm gonna try to sell high on Kyler Murray, but like nobody wants to buy him now, so I probably got to wait till the offseason.
Why does no one want to buy him now?
I was trying to make some deals. I just couldn't come to one. I reached out to like a few people. I told you about the Bijan deal. Lord Dog said he's comfortable in his spot, and there was a couple others I was dealing with in the DMs.
You know, your boy Curtis Rourke is like the second highest
he's sick
passer on PFF. I actually didn't know that.
He's gonna go to the NFL.
What is he, like 29?
He's my age, so he's 24.
Yeah, it's old as hell.
He's old as fuck. He's also had 2 separate ACL tears, I'm pretty sure. I know one for sure, but I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
2.
You know who's the highest graded passer on PFF?
Jackson Dart.
Yep.
Yeah. How did he play yesterday?
Oh, bad. Really bad. He has 2 stinkers per year. Both losses to the Ole Miss Rebels.
Yo, I know that one hurt when after the game, all you see is tweets like, "This is why we can't hype up the numbers. We were looking at the next Will Grier the whole time."
It's probably a fair comparison, actually.
It probably is, yeah. It was just funny.
Who's QB3, bro? Who the fuck is QB3 in this class?
Curtis Rourke. No, I'm kidding.
No, like, okay, let's say who's for sure going back to school. I swear to God, we'll answer more questions in a second.
Jalen Milroe.
Milroe's going back.
Garrett Nussmeier will now because Underwood's gone.
Yeah, that's true. What about I think Dart will go back to school too. What about Aller? Is Aller going back to school?
He should. Beck is going to come out this year probably.
I think Beck should go back to school as well.
It's Georgia though. They'll have a better option than him. Straight up.
Like everyone sucks. Everyone's bad.
Yeah, dude, this quarterback class is something not special.
Like I think Quinn will come out, to be honest.
But, dude, it's Shadur and Cam and like maybe Quinn, depending on where he lands, like the only ones you can convince yourself of being a long-term starter if they come out.
Like, yeah, like is somebody gonna take Dylan Gabriel in the first round? Like,
that is your Will Grier.
Yeah, that guy reeks.
That guy sucks. Good college quarterback though, right?
Maybe, I guess. Kind of a good college quarterback.
Kind of does his thing. I don't know what his thing is, but he kind of does it.
Yeah. No, I don't. I don't think that he does a whole lot of anything. Let's just be perfectly honest here.
Yeah. Come on,
he's got like a duo of great receivers and a great running back behind him, and he's still mid.
Also, bro, David Njoku catching 1 out of 5 targets fucking killed me in multiple leagues this week.
Yeah, especially when he like had a touchdown in his hands and then he mossed a guy for a 2-point conversion.
Fuck off. If he catches that touchdown, we're looking at like 11 points. It's probably like tight end 7 on the week.
Yeah, probably, which is, I mean, that usually is. Anyways, we're going to do a little 1250 delight here because we did not get to a lot of your guys' questions. Yeah. Let me just
none on the site too, by the way.
Yeah, right? I'm just quickly refreshing. We don't have any other site questions. So as we like to do at the end of these, sometimes we'll go through our weekly rankings just to show you guys exactly kind of big name players that maybe people are a little worried about starting or whatever. Let me just get this off the screen. Okay, so a lot of these wide receivers you're starting already. If you're wondering where we have Mike Evans, both of us have him at 15. So if you guys are wondering, hey, should I start Mike Evans today? He's on a pitch count, blah, blah, blah. He's still a very good play, in my opinion. If you have, like, obviously great plays, like, you know, some of the guys that are above him here, then you can probably not. Do you have Ladd McConkey at 9? Holy crap.
Oh, yeah. Where do you have him?
I'm at 18. Maybe I'm a hater. Maybe I should move him higher than that. But
pass funnel matchup, he's been shredding as of late. He's the alpha on his team. Justin Herbert's playing MVP football, who's my quarterback 3 on the week. Like,
yeah, I would have. I moved Pickens down after the weather stuff. That's why I had him at 17 when he locked in. But anyways, yeah, you guys can see, generally speaking, where we have Mike Evans, the range that we have him. So if you're like, hey, I have Mike Evans, should I sit, you know, him for Jawan Jennings or something? Like, I probably would not. To be honest, I for some reason my rankings didn't go through when I made the changes, but I don't have Jennings at 23. I have him at 28. But anyways, this is like the range of wide receiver that we're looking at. And again, I should have Jennings down here around where Dell was. But if you have guys that you're deciding between in this range, in this area, that's kind of how I would rank them. And I'll go kind of Danny's rankings here. This range as well. Like, you're starting again, I think you have McLaurin too low, but you still have Sutton and all these guys that are on the fringe, pretty high as far as where they're at.
Well, so with Sutton, it is a tougher matchup because Vegas has actually been a very run funnel, as we talked about. But I mean, like, he's just playing such good football, and he's been an alpha on that team, and Bo Nix has been playing so good. At this point with Cortland Sutton, and again, I'm not saying you're low on him because you have him at 20. Like I have him at 18. It's not like it's far off there. More so, like, can this guy legitimately be like a top 15-ish receiver going forward? Like, I wouldn't put him there right now because of the names that are involved in that area, but he's averaged 18.6 PPR points per game in the last month of the year. Like What is it? 2 more games? Is it 1 more game? Like, when are we going to raise him? Because it's like, what's a big enough sample size for this to be like, yeah, that's Sutton.
Yeah, no, he's been really good the last like month or so. I'll flip over to running back. Also, if you guys have specific names you want us to talk about really quick for the last like 5 minutes of this, just fire them in the chat and I'll try and break them down. But the running back position, obviously, you guys would have seen my rankings yesterday.
Same with wide receiver for me.
Yeah, on the running back tier list, but you could see I have the guys that I have a little bit lower than you are Taylor and Tracy. I guess Taylor we're pretty much in line on.
Yeah, I had him at 15. I thought I said 14. My bad.
Montgomery I have pretty high. I also have Brian Robinson high, Kareem Hunt high, like we said, James Conner all the way up there as well. Najee Harris locked in at 18 for me. Don't get mad. Obviously, that's where he locked in. Rachaad White, Bucky Irving, both inside our top 24s for both of us. Actually, inside your top 20. Both of them for you there. Dobbins and Pollard with Spears out. I think Pollard is still a great play here. Yeah, Pollard rank someone's asking about. Yeah, the reason I have Pollard at 21, which is higher than you have him. You have him at 26. I get the matchup is bad, but anytime Spears has been out, he's been an 80% snap share guy.
I don't disagree. I am a little bit concerned that he's kind of being worn off with injuries right now. He had his least efficient game in his last game. The Titans just haven't really been able to block up front. I don't know what the case may be. Are they dealing with injuries up front? Because I know their blocking up front has gotten a lot worse as of late.
I mean, they were pretty bad offensive line to begin with. I think the workload is too high for Pollard to not have him in a top 22-ish range.
So sort by me real quick. I want to see who I have exactly in front of him and kind of give the rationale as to why that is. So,
like to me, Javonte should definitely not be in front of him because there's a world in which Estime actually outcarries him.
I don't disagree. I would put my money on Pollard having more touches, but given the matchup, and Javonte Williams has been their main RB1 in basically 90% of the games this year, other than the KC game. So I'm kind of leaning into that. And on top of that, I think Estime can be involved and both running backs just smash because that's how bad Vegas is. So that's where I'm at there. Eckler obviously going to be a difference. We talked about that already off camera. I do think that Washington leans on their running backs this week. And I also do think Eckler, in terms of his receiving usage, sorry, I couldn't speak English there for a second. We kind of see more of the same that we saw last week. Outside of Terry McLaurin, like Zach Ertz has been up and down. I mean, he's been good as of late, but outside of that, Noah Brown, I mean, we don't even have to discuss him. Olamide Zaccheaus, Luke McCaffrey. It's like, I think they're going to be supplementing their best players' touches out of the backfield, and Austin Eckler was that last week. J.K. Dobbins, tough matchup. That's kind of why I have him a little bit lower at 24. Again, not terribly lower, 24 versus 20. DeAndre Swift. I view DeAndre Swift and Tony Pollard very similar in that aspect, that they're both going to get touches, but they're both bad matchups, and they are both kind of inhibited, I would say, by their offensive line situations.
Yeah, sorry. This guy's asking me about this Quentin Johnston, Calvin Ridley thing. You can just keep going if you have any other.
No, nothing really. I just wanted to give that rationale.
Someone asked, do we have Dobbins over Bucky or Bucky over Dobbins? YouTube said that. I have Dobbins over Bucky. Danny has Bucky over Dobbins. So it's close enough that it's probably pretty similar. And I just noticed Bell says Worthy or Hunter Henry here. Do you have a firm lean on that?
Worthy or Hunter Henry? If you want upside, go with Xavier Worthy. He had his best game in the last week. Carolina, despite being a tougher matchup against the pass, they're kind of just bad at both. They're just worse against the run. And on top of that, Xavier Worthy is the archetype where we don't even need to rely upon a 8-10 target game. We need 5 targets against a 3-win Carolina team for him to just get behind 1 or 2 times, is where I'm at with it. I'm at wide receiver 32 this week.
The one wrinkle is that Bell, if this is in our league, Hunter Henry has a 0.5 point first down bonus to account for. But Worthy has big play bonuses. So there's, they're kind of balanced out in that aspect. And then Christian.
We want to address this too. I just see this here. I see that's not what we're hearing from the team. So, I mean, if you're nervous about Evans, I understand it, but that's not what we're hearing from the team.
Yeah, still hawk there, Bell. Trust. How many times has Mike Evans, by the way, pulling his hamstring and leaving for the rest of the game? That's like the first time that's ever happened in his career. The guy is a warrior. He does not leave games unless you have to physically stretcher him out of them. Also, Christian saying Kyler or Baker this week with the weather concerns in Seattle. If there's weather concerns in Seattle, I might have to get like an official broadcast here or broadcast forecast. Let me take a look. Seattle Stadium forecast. I'd be okay going Baker over him. It looks like it's supposed to be pretty clear by 4 p.m. Christian. It doesn't look like it's an issue, except if they were playing at 1, it would be an issue. But because they're playing at 4, it doesn't look like it's going to be an issue, to be honest.
I actually do have Baker, I believe 1 or 2 spots higher.
Okay. I mean, if you wanted to use that,
I wanted to point this.
teams are always honest.
Trusted. Yeah, no, I
The Bucks
understand
are.
teams aren't always honest, but
Coach Speak Index indicates that Bowles is very honest, actually.
90%, right? Or 80?
Yeah, he's one of the most honest coaches in the league. He tells it exactly how it is. There's literally an entire Twitter account dedicated to figuring out how honest these coaches are, and Todd Bowles is very honest.
Damn.
I've also watched Mike Evans' entire career. I can tell you when he's going to be limited or not.
Also, how funny it is that Christian asked the Benson versus Brooks conversation when that was literally my last lineup decision I had to make between Benson and Brooks in the Flock League this week. And for the record, like we mentioned, I am going with Benson. So we'll see how that plays out. They both play out 1, right? No, Benson plays at 425, right? Because it's West Coast.
This guy's arguing that it should be just QJ for Ridley.
Tell him he's baked. Like, what?
I told him, I'm like, I need at least a 3rd round pick of equity or Jalen McMillan to do it, because in my eyes, you're paying for production right now. And me giving you a guy that's literally going to be like a top 24 receiver for the next like 6 games, that is worth you overpaying 10, 15% value. I don't think in hindsight, after the season is over, they'll be worth that much different. But
I don't
disagree. You're paying for 6-7 weeks of production, I think you have to pay about 10, 20%.
Like, you're taking on all the risk and he's the contender. Like, that makes no sense to me. Like, he's got to pay a premium if he wants the production, simply put. When you're talking about Ridley versus QJ rest of the season, I like QJ. I think he could be a top 35 to 40 wide receiver, maybe even top 30 wide receiver, probably in that range. Calvin Ridley's a wide receiver 2 rest of the season. So the way I would talk about
it, like a 1 also. Like his wide receiver 1 usage.
The way you talk about it back to him is like, yeah, no worries. I can sell Calvin Ridley to one of your other contenders that you're competing with then. That's fine.
Yeah, well, that's what I told him. I'm like, you need to give me McMillan or a 3rd, or else I'm not doing this, basically.
Yeah.
And he's like, I just don't view QJ and Calvin Ridley that different in terms of value. I'm like, I don't disagree with you. I just think you should have to pay more because you're buying a better production piece.
You're telling me, dude, I like McMillan, the prospect, but at one point, is he a deal-breaking asset to put into this for him? Really? Like, he's willing to do it straight up, but he's not willing to do it if he's throwing in McMillan as a contender. What the fuck is Jalen McMillan going to do to his contending push this year?
I know.
Like, I hate people that don't have processes. It's like, dude, you don't have a process. That's why you don't know what you're doing. Like, you're a contending team. It's Calvin fucking Ridley. It's like, what are we talking about here? I don't know. I get very emotional.
I know he's still trying to convince me that Johnston is more like keep trade cut has Quentin Johnston rated higher. I'm like, that's fine, but like I'm telling you right now, like he's not gonna.
You know what I would respond to that? Hey, Bush, you know what I would respond to that? Yeah, cool. Who asked about KTC? Who asked? Like, who asked? Seriously.
Yeah, literally nobody asked about KTC.
Like, what? No,
one young player has a good week, and KTC has him wide receiver 12.
Yeah. Like, respectfully, who the fuck asked about KTC? Really? No, Jalen McMillan. That's like me saying, yeah, I can't do this trade because I don't want to give up Jalen Tolbert.
Yeah, I know. It's okay. Anyways, we should sign off because I'm literally going back and forth trade negotiations.
I was gonna say but it is 101 anyway, so we should sign off anyways. If you guys did enjoy, make sure you leave a like. It does help us. 200 of you made it through that entire rambling session, so appreciate you guys for that. And hopefully we gave you some value with the rankings at the end as well. We didn't show tight ends, but I can just kind of like read it off real quick if you guys need. You guys know the top 8 or so guys. Like, I like Will Dissly a ton this week. I think he's a top 10 tight end. Hunter Henry.
Well, I mean, it's too late for some of these guys now. It's already past 1 p.m. But yeah, that's what we were looking at with tight end, if you guys were curious. But anyways, appreciate you guys for joining us. We'll have you covered tomorrow and so on and so forth. Peace out. We'll leave us any Dynasty stuff that you guys want to see in the coming weeks because the redraft content's going to be winding down a little bit. Especially no week 13 buys this week. We'll probably do something different on Friday rather than sneaky starts. But yeah, good luck to everybody. Hopefully you guys win your matchups.